Hi, and we are here for Baha'i Blogs. I'm Shauna, and I am a teacher, assistant principal, and a Baha'i children's class teacher.
I'm Sana. I'm a founder of Connected Learning, and we do before and after school programs in schools, teaching well-being, resilience, public speaking, and confidence. And I'm also a Baha'i children's class teacher.
So tell us a time a child absolutely blew you away with what they said or did.
Yeah, okay, I have a few of these. In one of our programs, we teach public speaking, and I had this student who didn't speak and wasn't non-verbal, just extremely shy and had a lot of things going on at home that didn't speak at school at all. And I remember the school principal came to me and said, hey, I know that person's in your class and there's no way she's going to do public speaking, but I really appreciate that you've accepted her into your class. And I thought, I just don't accept that she just won't talk. And so in the first class, I brought her forward because she would not speak. And rather than telling her you have to talk or we're going to make you speak today, which we do with every student speaks in the first class, we sat down and I just told her a story. And I told her that when I was in kindergarten, my English wasn't very good because my parents only spoke a different language at home. And I was really shy. And I remember that feeling of not being able to communicate, not being able to get my words out. And I set this goal. I said, I know in year 3 we're going to do a school play. And my goal was that in year 3, I would be the lead actor in this play. She was listening to the story. And I was like, do you know what happened in year 3? And she's like, no. I was like, I was the second lead actor in the play. I said, but I really tried and I put that effort in. And I said, it doesn't really matter what you say, but it matters that you feel that you can get up and say something. And she grabbed her book, which she'd written a bit of a speech, and she turned around and just started talking to the class. I mean, you could barely hear her. I was right next to her, but she gave it a go. And it blew my mind. And then by the next term, she was coaching other children in public speaking.
Wow.
What's it like seeing kids later on who you taught? Have you been teaching long enough to see the end game? I have a little bit of this, but you probably have more experience on this.
Yeah, I realized that I've been teaching, I think, for 10 years now.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
That's your old.
Crazy, yeah. But I remember going back to the school that I was teaching at the beginning of my teaching career. And I rocked up to their year 6 graduation thing outside of school. And it was really sweet. They were just so excited. And they're like, we wondered if you would come back. Because I had left the year before, so they weren't sure if I was going to come back. And just hearing them talk about what they were doing now and where they were at, and knowing how beautiful they were as children at that age. I was blessed with my first class. They were just the most incredible children, and just seeing how far they'd come and the way they carried themselves, I was oh, these kids are excellent. But it was nice that they remembered me. I was okay. I was wondering if you'd remember, yeah. So that was nice.
We have students that move on to high school, or they go to some other private school, and then they come, and then their siblings still go to the school. So to pick up their sibling, they walk into the class to pick up their sibling, and I see them in their new fancy clothes or whatever that might be. And the fact that they want to walk in and say hello, I'm oh, you actually cared about this space and this mattered to you. And because some of the schools that we teach at is in my local area, I'll be in Coles and I'll just see a child who went into high school, and they'll run into the aisle to come say hi. Aww. And I when I see them, I want to drop my trolley and run and talk to them. And it's really nice to think that, we actually had an impact. And when you're in the moment, sometimes you don't know how special these moments are for these children, because they're definitely special for me. And then you see them run out I made a difference on that kid's life. That relationship we had meant something, because it meant something to me. And now I know it meant something to them. So I think that's the nicest part, rather than saying they became successful. I haven't been teaching long enough to know that one of them saved the world, but I'm sure they might. Yeah.
So what keeps you going and doing this?
Anytime I have any doubt about what I'm doing, I go to a class and I'm I know why I'm doing this. It's so obvious. And the second one is when parents email you and tell you stories about what the children have done. So one of the things we do in our public speaking class is we do positive affirmations. And the children will scream them out, I am brave, I am kind, and I'm important, all things like that. And I had one, this one really kept me going. Two parents wrote to me about affirmations and in the same week. And one of them was, my son, she was saying her son was really lacking confidence about something he had to do. And she walked past his room and he was chanting these affirmations to himself. He's I am brave, I am awesome, I'm kind. And she was like, oh my gosh, like that's what he chose to do in the room when he wasn't feeling confident. And we had another one, their family went to Gold Coast for a holiday, must be nice. And then but before they got onto the ride, she did not want to get on the ride. And her mum was like, what would Sana tell you to do? And then she gets on and she's just screaming, I am brave. Like as the roller coaster's moving up and down. Like when I'm reading these emails, I'm like, oh my God. Like they're using these tools in their day-to-day life. It is so special. Like I wish someone had taught me how to speak to myself in my quiet moments. So that really gets me going, knowing that like, hey, there's this 1 or 2 kids that now have a new tool to navigate the difficulties of life.
I think similarly, just like the moments where you see it actually having an impact, or you see the kids really taking in like what you're trying to teach them, but less so like obviously the academic stuff, and more so like just being a good person. And I think for me, I've had experiences where like I tried to integrate, for example, like teaching virtues at the beginning of every week, and seeing them, like one child who obviously was impacted by his environment, quite like, he was very confident, but not necessarily in a good way, and was like, would kind of push his weight around, or, you know, make life difficult for other children, starting to shift in his behavior. And it was really nice, like the other kids, not only did he start to show, for example, kindness that week, but the other kids started to point it out in each other because I was doing it.
Nice.
Yeah, so I would be like, oh, like, and I'd make an effort whenever we read like a particular virtue and spoke about it. We would then throughout the week have to like point it out in other people, and we had like a little reward system of like, and it was like a whole class system, and you go and put like, you know, a paddle pop stick in the paddle pop jar, for example. And we, I remember them saying to that boy, like, oh, you're being really kind when you did
so
this.
Nice.
And I was like, oh, and he was being kind. So it was like a double whammy of like them seeing it in each other. And for me, it was like, although there were those challenging moments, you know, of like having to deal with the behaviors and deal with like children who sometimes don't do what you're hoping they'll do, it's that like seeing the shift, slow shift in behavior, or like their own consciousness, that you're like, oh, okay, yeah, it's worth it. Like keep going, keep trying.
And I wonder what the persistent narrative is for a child like that. Like maybe they're told all the time, you're naughty, you're loud, you're this. And so they've developed this story, and then now suddenly their teacher, their peers are saying, actually, you're kind. Like, oh, I'm kind.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't aware that I was kind. I didn't know I had this thing.
That's right.
And so it doesn't matter how they look themselves in the mirror. It's like, hey, this is how people actually see you. That's the truth. Yeah. That's what people see. Okay, so I've got a question. What do you do when kids are out of control?
Ooh, that's a good question. I mean, I do a few things. It depends on my mood. Yeah. No, I think like, firstly, just pausing, like not making any quick decisions on like, because I feel like it's very natural to like want to raise your voice, for example, if kids are out of control, and try and kind of like take control back in that way. I've never found that helpful. Like it's obviously happened.
It does not work.
But it doesn't work. So like being calm, sometimes I do what I call like a bit of a reset. So I go towards the door and I say to them,
I'm leaving.
Yeah, basically.
I have a car, I'm going.
No, I just say, I know like that you, like this is not who you are, like you've forgotten, like I remember, you know, for example, like you can be respectful and responsible. So I'm just gonna quickly turn around. Sometimes I'll just turn around, I'm just gonna pop out. And when I come back in, I know that you're going to be the class that like I remember seeing this morning, or like I know you can be. And then I pop out, and then every time, like I don't think I've had one time that it hasn't worked, that they were immediately like being respectful and like immediately like smiling too. Like they were like happy that they were doing the right thing when I came back in. And it's like a quick 2-second reset. I think that's not fully out of control though, because if they were like running riot, that wouldn't work, because they would. So in that situation, I think it's just a matter of like kind of pausing, doing a quick like call and response, and then like again reinforcing like, I think it's always good to go with the positive of like, I know that you can be this, this, and this. Like you can be respectful, you can be responsible, you can be safe. Right now, I don't know we're all showing that. Like it's, maybe you need to think about it, and kind of putting it back on them to like reflect. And I think because we've set up a really positive relationship, it's always easier. And I guess it depends on the context and how many kids there are, but that's like in a bigger classroom context, I would say.
Yeah, that's really good. I like that reset idea. I'm going to use that. And I think it'll work with the younger group especially. I'm worried with the year 3 to 6. If I walk out of the room, it'll be like a riot. Like I'll turn around and everything's upside down. When I'm in front of the classroom and someone's disruptive, if I'm like, hey, be quiet, shush, or whatever, no matter how I do it, I'm shaming them. I'm like publicly shaming that child. Yeah. Even if I do it in a lovely way and it's like they see it. So we also, when I'm talking or when other educators talking, the other person's walking up and down and having a private conversation. So that's one part. The other thing that we did as a group, we got together and reflected on this because there were moments where we raised our voices and we got like really short or impatient, and no one hated that more than us. The students got over it. We didn't get over it. We were like, I had a teacher call me and say, I had the worst day today. I yelled at this boy and it wasn't even his fault. I got the wrong kid. And like it happens, you know? And so we had a really good reflection, and the first thing we talked about was like, why do people misbehave? That was the first part we got to. Why do they get out of control? And we try to look at it from an empathetic perspective, like from their perspective, what are they doing? Are they evil? Are they trying to destroy the classroom? It's like never any of those answers. Are they bad people? It's never any of those things. Yeah. So once we took that away, we're like, well, then what is it? And the first thing was that the learning style that we're delivering is just a mismatch to how they learn. Okay, so like change it up. Okay, just like change it up. It's just not working. Yeah. That's one part. The other part is, and this is the saddest one, because when you get upset at them, then we got really sad at this one, is they're just trying to impress you half the time. They just love you. And they want to like communicate. So if I'm saying something, if I'm like, all right, imagine you're going on a holiday. I've been on a holiday, and you're like, shush. And they're like, no, I'm just trying to engage. I just don't know when my turn is to talk. And so I haven't been clear on my instructions. And so some of these, when we kind of looked from that perspective, we're like, oh, actually, like, it's us. We can manage the behavior by just producing better learning experience. Yeah. That was the first part. And then we like really practice the conversation. So similar to you, we trying to help them see their higher self and be like, actually, we know how wonderful you can be. It's so obvious because you've been that. We know how great. And then even in the one-on-one conversation, we're not like, hey, shush, the teacher's talking, because that's just like authoritarian. We say, hey, what would it look like today for you to be your best self? What would that look like? And just leave it with them. I wonder what would it look like if today you were the leader of the classroom? Yeah. And they're like, and they sit and they think, and I'm like, I don't know, but I'd love to figure that out. And they come to you and they're like, have I been a leader? And you're like, yeah. You have been a bit of a leader today. Interesting. I wonder what that would look like if you did that another week. And just giving them that level of autonomy that's been really helpful. Can we do that every time? Oh, like it's hard. Yeah. And that's the thing is like, so now that's why with the two educators, we have to give each other feedback. Yeah. And I make the other educators tell me, you got it wrong today. Yeah. Like you got it wrong. Like, hey, like you were a bit too firm with that kid. Like that's not tough love. That was a bit annoying what you did. And I was like, yeah, it was. That wasn't cool. I've got to make it up to him. Yeah. So yeah, we're constantly reflecting on it. And I don't think any teacher has nailed behavior management, because once you do, then you get a brand new class. It's all over again, and you go to that rhythm with them, 100%. And you build that relationship, like you said. So we're trying to work on that. Yeah.
What's the secret to keeping everyone engaged? It's interesting. My mind actually went to, like, obviously initially it went to my classroom setting, and similarly, like, definitely changing it up. Sometimes I feel like I'm an actor, not a teacher, just trying to keep them engaged and like moving and not staying in one place. I'm moving, they're moving, everyone's moving. But also I thought about my children's class and how it's designed, and obviously that's not me, but like the way that the lesson flows and how it starts, like it's not always entertaining so much as like engaging, and I think that word is different. And it's like, for me, giving them opportunities where we are really reflecting and thinking, and then there are also times where we are engaging in storytelling. I was thinking storytelling too, like it's just like the most engaging thing. And in my classroom, same thing, like telling them a story about, you know, not littering. I didn't tell them like we shouldn't litter because animals will die. Because like I told them a story made up of a boy who littered, like, and they're like fully engaged. I remember a teacher coming in to take one out for like their English like language lesson, and he did not want to leave. And she was like, it's okay, we'll just wait until your story is finished. But like that kind of engagement where they're just like so entranced by a story. And I think it's different when you story tell as opposed to like reading a story to them. Yeah. But yeah, and then like that moving through games, song, like wherever we can, like engaging in different styles of learning. And then you're kind of capturing those kids who only learn in a particular way potentially and need training in the other ways to kind of get there as well. So it's, I think changing things up all the time is really important, and not lecturing them, which is very hard to do sometimes, like not just stand there and tell, because that's a bit easier, but trying to do it in different ways.
Yeah, and I think, like, I don't know where the standing up and telling comes from, because we don't like that either. Like, imagine we went to some workshop and someone just stood there and talked the whole time. We wouldn't be like, wow, this is for adults. We want to play games too. Interesting. I'm interested in this one. What are the hardest questions kids ask you? I had a question recently. It was so beautiful. We were in grade 3 and we were going through all the different messages of God. And one of the children asked, why do we need religion?
Wow.
You know, and they're like, their parents, when they were like, oh, how dare my child ask such a question? I thought, actually, you know what? We've never addressed this. Like, that's such an obviously good first question to be asking. And I was like so engaged in that. So, I mean, it wasn't like hard question, but we talked about, we just went back to the stories. Like, think about every manifestation of God that we've learnt about. What was happening was like the darkest period for humanity. They had like what was going on in that country at that time, or what was going on, and like how there was wars and how people were fighting, and how they went to solve those problems. And these problems that like humanity can't solve on their own. We just know that. It's a fact. And so every one of these messengers came to help teach humanity how to solve these problems together, and whatever those issues were. And, you know, we believe that today is like one of the biggest ones is unity, like is seeing our oneness. And it's so obvious. Like, if we look on the news today in Australia, like we are seeing that problem today. And it's so bizarre, and we can see, oh, actually these are problems. So we talked about it from that first principles perspective, and they fully understood it. Like that, humanity just can't achieve this on their own because they've tried. We've tried so many times, and we always end in darkness when we're not following God's teachings. I don't know, what hard questions do you get in class?
Yeah, I think the same, like in my children's classes, I've had kids ask me like, but how do we know God exists? And I think, it's a really hard question.
Well, that's all we have time for, kids. Thanks for coming. Here's some crafts.
It's a really hard question to answer. And I think I tell them, like, you know, it's actually really hard. Like, I want to acknowledge that it's not something that is easy to answer, or that is easy to just accept as well, and speak about, like, you really have to speak about the evidences of God around us, and, you know, use analogies that they can understand around, like, for example, we can't always see wind, but we can see the effect of the wind on the tree moving and things like that, that try and help them. And I like, even like, drawing on the natural world and what we see around us, like that it is that guiding kind of point for us, and we have to acknowledge a source, and, like, you know, kind of using analogies where I can, but definitely those have been like the trickiest questions. And agreed, like grade 3 right now has been really helpful for that, because it's like that building, like concepts wise of like what manifestations of God have brought, and it's like just really setting up the foundation for them of like, why do we even have religion? Where has it come from? We have to acknowledge that source. So it's been nice to kind of I got asked this as well. I answered from a very personal perspective. So when they said, how do I know that God exists, and I said, because of the number of times he interferes with my plans. And that's because I'm very good at planning, and I'm very good at achieving something, and then every time it completely doesn't go my way, and actually something so much better happens. That's like and then the other part was, how do I know anything? The way I know anything is I go and learn about it, I experiment. So I'm told that if I say prayers wholeheartedly, that I will receive divine confirmation. Okay, so then I'll do that. And then when I receive that divine confirmation, or I get those beautiful signs, and I feel clarity, I'm like, how can I not believe? But I can't sit from a stand far away and be like, I don't believe in God. I also wouldn't believe in gravity unless I was like trying to understand it. Did an experiment, dropped a ball, okay, I got it. Like now I believe. So I think you can't just believe academically, like you've got to put it into practice like you like believing in anything. And so that's what I asked them. I said, well, when you're saying your prayers, are you just reading words? I mean, that has some effect, but are you wholeheartedly thanking God for all the amazing things in your life? And, you know, this will bring you closer to God, and it'll become more clear when the closer and closer you study God as well. So, and also like learning about the lives of the manifestations of God, all of them. Like, how do you not believe in God when you see that like history has just repeated itself over and over again with their lives? It's fair to say, I only believe in this. We're just going to study all of their lives. They all have the same pattern. Anyway, so I think
that was also like, I tried to give them a very practical, just go and try.
Nice.
Don't just ask me to give you an answer, because that's not how it works.
Yeah.
How anything works. Yeah.
Okay, my next question is, what's more important, fun or discipline?
You're asking the wrong guy. You know what my answer is.
I do.
Okay, so I don't know. I'll tell you.
For everyone else, what was the immediate answer?
If I wasn't a lie detector, I would say fun.
Yeah.
Because I don't know, life is so short. And gosh, how good would life be if it was fun majority of the time?
Yeah.
And maybe that's the child in me that just wants to break free and have fun all the time. So there's that part. But I do think, and this is something we're doing a write-up on this at the moment, around discipline. And discipline is also like a really, like a form of love and compassion. So if you look on two extremes, like letting a child do whatever they want is terrible for their development.
Yeah.
That's horrible. And then giving them harsh punishments, terrible for their development. So then discipline and having some boundaries is actually a really great way to help them, to nurture them to grow. So discipline is more important, but if you put me on a lie detector, I would say fun, because of it is tough, but I do think that we're trying to rethink about discipline, because we think of discipline as like disciplinary action and punishing and doing punishments. And yeah, there is a role for all of those elements in class, so that people know what their boundaries are. And I do think that they are important. However, you can get around that if you're really fun. Like if the class is so fun, then you won't have to get there. But that's a big ask, because life's not always supposed to be fun. And I also have short time with the children. So we have like a sprint. Yeah. You're running a long marathon. So I don't think I would play it the same way if I was like a regular teacher. What do you think? Fun, discipline.
Yeah, my immediate answer is discipline.
oh, really? Okay.
Yeah,
okay, good,
there's no question. But
I mean, you're totally right. I'm just, that's my instinct.
No. But I think that's the thing, is like we think of discipline as a negative thing, but actually having discipline is such a positive thing, because if we can manage like our behavior in a setting that is, there are a lot of other people in our room all the time. And if we're all practicing discipline, including me, then we have fun. Like in my mind, it's like we can't have fun unless we're disciplined. That's true. So it's so important to have fun. And I'm not saying that I'm really boring me.
We both argue chicken and egg in the opposite way.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so obviously egg is correct. But I'm just making it. But like it's interesting, because I said if we're having fun, you won't need to discipline. And you're right, if you have a disciplined environment, then you can actually have fun.
But it does go both ways.
No,
I agree. If the learning is engaging, you won't have to even worry about discipline. But when it does arise, it's like important. I think I'm seeing it more as like the verb of like, we are disciplined in our action. It's like, we can only be disciplined if we know what the boundaries are and we know where, like what we are allowed to do and what we're not, and then we can have fun in that.
You are right, because when it is too fun, and like I said to you, I am the cause of disruption in the class. And I'll do something and I'm like, oh, why are they behaving like that? Yeah, because I started it.
Yeah.
I was playing some silly game, or I was doing some role play, and then they were jumping up and down. And I'm like, oh, okay, that was just 100% my fault. And the discipline does go out the door. Yeah. So I'm going to learn about this. I'm going to improve on this.
To be fair, I do that too, so don't worry.
Yeah. What's a tip you give to people just starting out in teaching? This is really good, because you probably do this in real life.
Yeah.
When new teachers come to the school, or what do you do?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I think it depends on the teacher, because often like one of like my roles has been to go in and like support beginning teachers, but they're also different. So the tips I would give them are very different. And I think one thing is like obviously to build on your own strengths. So if you have a particular strength, then like really try and like hone in on that. Remember that the quality, like the effort you put into the lesson is what you will get out of the lesson. Yeah. So if you prepare really well in advance, 100%. You know what's coming, like you're trying to make sure it's engaging, you're thinking about the kids that you're going to actually teach and what will work for them. And then you go in with like full energy as much as you can. Like we have our own like lives and things going on outside of school, but to really like show up for those kids and try, your best. They're the lessons that always go well. I know that the lessons I don't put effort into, they're not going to go well. Yeah,
I think even in children's classes, it's the same thing. Yeah. Like when you're in your A game and you're ready to answer these questions, that's such a better answer than what I'm going to share. Mine is, it sounds like a fake answer, but I'm going to say it. And it's kind of how we hire people as well. I actually think in some ways, the structure of teaching in class is very teachable. You can teach someone to be a teacher. But one thing that I just cannot is like loving children. And so like my number one tip is like to love them.
Yeah.
And if you love them, then like everything else kind of flows. Like you'll be more patient, you'll have better ideas, you'll listen more, you'll draw to empathy before you do authority. So some of those things go away and I think there's like, it's not a common word that we say as teachers that we love the kids. I get that, but I think it's so sad that we can't, that we don't say that. And I tell the teachers, I'm like, no, it's because I love them. They're like, oh, why'd you stay back? And why didn't? So sometimes parents come very late to pick up their children. Like, and they're like, oh, why don't you like tell that teacher? Oh, I love that kid. I don't want in front of that child to me to have some administrative conversation. Like, I just love them. It's fine. Like these are things that you don't focus on those edges. So yeah, that would be my number one tip.
What do you wish every parent knew to do?
Oh, this is like, gosh, I'm going to get roasted for this. What parent wants to hear from another parent, like telling them what to do? Oh, yeah. Okay, but that might be an interesting perspective to have because I'll have my own biases of that. I do think that how you speak to your child is how they speak to themselves. And like, if I think about my inner voice is some echo of my parents' conversations with me, their expectations of me. This is getting into group therapy, but it is. But I think when I think about things that I say to myself, like good or bad, I'm like, oh, someone said that to me before when I was a kid, and it just like tattooed in my mind. And I do think that we don't think about, because kids are so in the moment, we don't think about the shadow that we cast in the long term. So how we speak to our children builds their own internal narrative. And I don't mean that we just say, you're the greatest at everything. That's also a terrible thing to like say. Yeah. But actually like helping them believe in themselves, helping them see the beauty in what they do and recognizing their strengths and also recognizing their effort. Like all the reward in life comes through effort, not from outcomes. And we know that. And like, but we're in a world that is obsessed with outcomes. So I do think some of those conversations are really important. And as parents, it's hard, thankless job. We're tired, we're doing all this stuff, but you've got to stay present and you have to be conscious of what you're saying because this is the most precious thing you have in your life. And that can't be the thing on the side. That can't be the thing that's bothering you in the corner. No, the cooking and the cleaning is bothering me because I want to be better at parenting. No, my job is bothering me because I want to be more focused for my daughter. That is very hard to do because life is so demanding. So I'm not criticizing, I make this mistake on the daily. I just think that's something I'd like to say to parents because I hear the kids with their internal dialogue in the class. They're like, oh, like I know I'm naughty. I'm like, in my mind, like, where'd you learn that? Yeah. Who said that to you? That's so not cool.
Yeah, I would say the same thing, that like they are like the role model that their children are going to like, whether they like it or not, are going to like emulate everything that they do and say, and not just to themselves, but to others as well. So like I can see how like the way that parents interact with their children or like don't interact, even worse, like at all, impacts the way that children interact with others and think about themselves. And it's like you don't realize what impact you have until probably it's too late as well sometimes. And I think, it's hard to share that with a parent in a way that's also not going to like hurt them. But I think, like slowly getting parents to see that is important. And I think part of our role, like, and it's so obvious, like when I'm having an issue or a challenge with a child, when I meet the parents, it all makes sense. Like it all kind of comes together. So I think for me, it's like you don't realize the impact you have, and to just, make sure that whatever you're doing, you'd be happy for your child to do because they're going to do it.
Yeah, you know that in 30 years' time, your child is sitting with some therapist and they're like, tell me about your parents. And you're like, your hope? They're like, my dad? What a guy. And like, so I think about that moment, like that conversation is coming for everyone. We all, that's the cornerstone of our behavior. So you want to make sure you've at least got more positive stories than weird ones. Okay. How can we all better support teachers?
Part of it is the way we think about them, because the way we think about something affects how we kind of speak about it or treat them. Yeah, the way that even children think about their teachers. So I think if we really reflect on the role of teachers ourselves, like just internally, just to think about like really what is it that teachers are doing for the world. And if everyone, I guess, like reflected on that a bit more deeply, it would have a big impact on like the lives of teachers. Because I think part of it, like teaching is a pretty thankless job sometimes, but I think when you can feel that children who are often reflecting whatever their parents or the other people around them view, how they view teachers. Like when you feel like a sense of like, okay, this person at least respects me as a human, it makes a big difference
100%.
to your day and to your like life as a teacher. And I think, I think about when I say I'm a teacher compared to when someone says like I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
And the difference in like the response of like, oh, that's nice, or wow, that's like really like, so it's like the way we view,
that's true,
like the way we view a profession of like the skills that it requires, or like I just think sometimes it's...
That's true. It's so funny. I have never thought about that, but that is the last few years that I've been doing connected learning. I get that face. That, I'm like, it's like, do you pity me? Like, I love what I do. I have the best job in the universe. Well, you just talk to adults? Yuck. I'm with kids. My job's awesome. I want to answer this from a different perspective, because I'm also a parent who has a child in a school and a teacher, and how I think there's a couple of things, very small things, and the teachers do notice this. Every time I do school drop-off or pick-up, I say thank you to the teacher. So I will either say thank you in advance for today, thank you so much, and then and like when I pick them up, thank you for today, I know you had a big day, thank you so much. And when I went into the classroom, part of my job, to do something with their class, they mentioned this. They said, this is the parent who always thanks me after every class. And I'm like, oh, you actually recognize that, because normally parents only come to complain about something. Why does my kid not know this? Or someone, took their crayon, or whatever it might be. So that's one part. And the other thing is to stay on the pulse of what they're teaching. Like, schools send you information, read it. Like, this is what's happening. Be prepared, be engaged. And if your child is like trying to learn something, go Google it, go and teach them. Like, go and do the extra bits, so that when they come, it makes the teachers work a bit easier. Because as much as you look at them as a service provider and be like, why aren't all the kids geniuses? That's your fault. But when you have a 1:30 ratio, it's not possible. Like, the only thing that's really going to make a difference is one-on-one, and you cannot afford, if you do one-on-one, it's chaos will unfold. So I think knowing that, hey, it's my job to do the one-on-one, it's your job to get the concept out, and my job to take it home. And I think that's another way to support teachers. Like, ideally you have a 1:10 ratio. That would be beautiful in the classroom. So nice. It's never going to happen. All right. So I think that's another way people can support teachers.
How do you prepare for a class? Like, we obviously try and make sure everything's prepared in advance, but you still have to like then read through like kind of what the lesson is, make sure you're aware. I immediately thought of my like classroom, and then I thought about like also my children's class and how I prepare for that. And one thing that I sometimes forget to do is like also like pray before I go in. And I find the days that I like pray for the kids, even when I go into like my school, it makes a difference. Like, it sets me up with a different mindset. And so I initially thought of like the lesson prep stuff in terms of like reading through the lesson, making sure I'm aware, okay, well, how could I adjust this for that kid and make sure that like he's going to be challenged, because I know he's going to know all of this. So obviously there's that element, but even just like my mentality going in, and when I approach the kids, like in the morning when I go do pickup, like being like, okay, like, where's your like joy now? Because that joy, they're going to like reflect back to you whatever they feel. So like, just making sure that they feel like loved and joyful before they go into the lesson as well. And it just changes like the mood. So there's there's that element of like the practical, like being ready, but also like mentally prepared or emotionally ready for them as well. What can we learn from children that we forget when we become adults?
Oh, so many things. So many things. One is that children are in the moment, and they are so present. And that we all try and do that. People will go on meditation retreats to do this for 10 days, and they come back and they're like back to thinking about the past and the future. And I think that's a really beautiful thing. And I think to find the joy in the simple parts of life. And as adults, we think that joy derives from like, I have to go to this holiday. I have to like introduce these things into my life. I have to buy this thing. These are things that bring me joy. But a child will see 2 sticks on the ground and be like, oh boy, I've got the next hour ahead of me of so much joy. And that, you learn those, you hang on to those things. That's really good. And the other part is art. I did no visual art. I mean, a lot of dramatic arts, as you can tell, as you know, when I was younger. But I lost that. I thought as an adult, it was my job to shake those things off. They were like, I saw them as immaturities that I should like get rid of, and then they'll become like the person who wears a tie. I never wear ties, but that I to be a real adult. and sitting down and doing arts and crafts, doing watercolors and doing those little things. Like, this is a spiritual act of meditation to do these things, and you see how children can hyper focus on it. So that's another thing that we can learn from kids.
Yeah, I immediately thought of creativity and being in the moment as well. Like, I just thought how creative children can be. And it's sad sometimes seeing that children have even, like, at the age of like 8, have had that, like, not beaten out of them, that sounds horrible, but like it's just gone, whereas others still have it.
It's the development of the first ones of apathy. Of like, I don't care anymore, but they do. What can we learn from Abdu'l-Baha about teaching children?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a big
Baha'i
question.
blogger trying to make me cry on camera this time.
Okay, what can we, so much, like everything. There are so many stories of Abdu'l-Baha and like how he was with children and adults, like even the way that he was with adults is like incredible. I think, I often think about stories where Abdu'l-Baha never wanted a heart to be hurt. So like, you know, like he just, in every interaction, was so present for every human being that he was with. And I think if we can even remember that, it's like, that's so important for children to feel that love from us. And I think you were saying this before as well, like when you have genuine love for the children that you're teaching, like it makes such a big impact on them, whatever you say and do, and they feel it. But I think also like he had such a strong sense of justice and a strong, like there's so many elements to it. Like it wasn't just love in the sense of like, do whatever you want because I love you. It's like, no, but when someone needed to be disciplined, for example, he would ensure that there was like that understanding, but he did it in such a loving way that they wouldn't have even known. Like it was more from a place of like, they loved Abdu'l-Baha so much that they would want to do everything they could to please him. And I think if we can have like even a semblance of that kind of like relationship with the children that we're teaching, it would make such a difference to like the environment of the classroom and the impact that we're having. You
know, Abdu'l-Baha, he acted as if he could not see the bad qualities in people.
Yeah.
And he's so discerning and so wise, of course he can. But what he did was he looked for the good qualities, you know, but he acted as if he couldn't see them, in the same way that God forgives us, you know, like as if we got away with it, you know, like, and it's so beautiful that like he would identify the one beautiful thing about a child. And I'll give you an example. We had this child in the year 1 to 2 public speaking class, and every time he got up and he would say something silly, all the children would follow. And one of the educators came upstairs because I was running a different class, and they said, what do we do? How do we, and then this other educator was a Baha'i, so it was very easy to answer this question. I was like, okay, what would Abdu'l-Baha say to him? Would he say that he's a naughty child? She's like, no way. You know, would Abdu'l-Baha yell at him? No way. Would he like lock him in a corner? No way. What would Abdu'l-Baha say? And she's like, he would find something good about him. And I was like, well, what is he doing? And she's like, he gets up and speaks, everyone follows him. I'm like, so you're telling me he's a leader? Go and tell him he's a leader and say, I've noticed that you're a leader, and whenever you do something, people follow you. So now imagine if you could lead people into somewhere really amazing. What would that look like? And that was like, it was a difficult like mental gymnastics to go and like think about that and to take away from the disrespect or the ego or like, why aren't you listening to me? And all of those natural instincts that adults have. But when we consciously think, okay, Abdu'l-Baha, he looked for it. He would sift through, oh, that's your good quality. Let's just focus on that. That is the thing that makes you amazing. You know, he would meet with people that were arms dealers and look at them and say, you're a very smart scientist. You know, like, you are a very brilliant inventor. Why don't you focus on in building inventions for peace? Like this type of level of thinking, you apply this in the classroom, it will have the most dramatic effect on children. And that's why when we talk about this whole seed, plant, tree thing, this all comes from how Abdu'l-Baha saw people. He didn't see them as broken, he saw them as beautiful and as something that can really have an impact on the world. One last Abdu'l-Baha thing I was thinking about was touch points. So in Akka, when the Western believers would come for pilgrimage, you know, like, he has his own family. Abdu'l-Baha had many children, and I mean, he had 9 children all up, and many of them died at infancy, but he had these like 4 daughters. And afterwards, he'd finish his pilgrimage at like 11 p.m. at night, not 11:30, and the pilgrims would all go to sleep. He would then go, and then his daughters would come to his room, and they would ask him for life advice. I'm having trouble with this person. It could be like interaction, it could be about relationships, and he would sit down and give them his time. And I think that is really, that's a special thing as a teacher, to give a child time. You can't always do it, but there are moments you might be walking through at lunchtime and somebody just wants your time. And that is the biggest gift a teacher can give, I think, in a lot of ways. And that's it. That's all of our questions.
It was fun.
All right. I think we'll just leave the cards on.
Yeah, see ya.